Even though he didn't enter the league as a recognized prospect, everybody in the basketball world now knows who Nikola Jokic is. Here, we'll let you know what 10 NBA legends think of the Joker. Number 10, Charles Barkley. Jokic entered the NBA as an under-the-radar kind of guy. He was the 41st overall pick of the 2014 NBA draft, and they aired a Taco Bell commercial during his selection. No one thought he'd be as good as he is nowadays. But the best part about Jokic is that he hasn't changed the slightest since that day. He recently signed a 5-year, $147,710,050 contract, but he continues to be humble, down-to-earth, and pretty easygoing. That's one of the many reasons why everybody seems to like him, including Hall of Famer Charles Barkley, who usually doesn't have much praise for anybody. He's one of my favorites, because this guy is just what we would call a no-drama superstar. That's why he's one of my favorite players. No ego, but there's never any drama around this guy. I've never heard a bad word. You don't hear him getting in any trouble. Guy just plays basketball. If you don't like watching him play, you don't like basketball, Barkley said. Also, there were some questions about Jokic's shape during the first couple of years of his career. He's not exactly athletic and was slightly overweight, but Barkley didn't think that was much of an issue. His body would be the last thing I'd be worried about. I think they're surprised at what a great player he is more than anything. He's a great player who's just not physically imposing, Chuck said. Now, Jokic is in the best shape of his career and it's clearly showing. He's slimmer, faster, and with more stamina than ever. Number 9, Shaquille O'Neal. Outside of maybe Arvydas Sabonis back in the day, the NBA had never seen a player like the Joker. He can put the ball on the floor and operate better than most point guards. He can dribble, post up, catch and shoot, and score from all 3 levels while making his teammates better. That's why it wasn't a surprise to see him take off with the MVP award last season. Also, that prompted Shaquille O'Neal to tip his hat off to him, as he became the first center to win the award since Shaq did. First thing, thank you. Because of you, the big man is back. You're the first big man to win the MVP in a long time. I thank you and appreciate you very much. Coming from Serbia as a kid, did you ever say to yourself, I will be the MVP of the NBA one day? Shaq said. Jokic had a hilarious response when asked about Shaquille O'Neal though, joking that Shaq couldn't guard him before adding that he was just a huge force. You can't guard me. Wait, joking. I mean, when I was in New Orleans getting out of the bus and he was in front of me, and I had a mountain in front of me, when I saw him in person and watched his clips, he was so dominant. I think the most dominant guy to play in the game. He was a beast right there, Jokic said. Needless to say, Jokic and Shaq are completely different players. The Joker is tailor-made for the modern game, while Shaq was a dominant physical specimen that made the most of his damage down low. He'd still be as great as he was if he played nowadays, but Jokic doesn't exactly fit the mold of the typical center. Number 8, Dirk Nowitzki. Those comparisons to Nowitzki have some truth to them, at least when it comes to shooting. But if you were to ask the Mavericks legend, Jokic is already a far superior player than he ever was. Damn, that's a compliment. I wish I had his skill set. His passing is so good, it's a joke. I unfortunately always wanted to score, not pass, Dirk said of the comparisons with Jokic. Number 7, Greg Popovich. That versatility and ability to play at a faster pace and run the offense at a high level make Jokic one of the most unique players to ever set foot on an NBA hardwood. Even if it's still way too early in his career, some people are already comparing him to former legends of the game. And that includes Spurs coach Greg Popovich, who went as far to compare him to Celtics great Larry Bird. He's a reincarnation of Larry Bird. He does everything. He's amazing, Popovich said when asked about the Serbian. Those comparisons could seem far-fetched to the naked eye, but they're actually more accurate than one would think. Bird was a forward and a sharpshooter, but he was also an elite playmaker and facilitator, just like Jokic. Jokic is coming off averaging 26.4 points, 10.8 rebounds, 8.3 assists, and 1.3 steals per game on 56, 36, 88 shooting splits. And those numbers aren't that far off from what Larry Bird averaged per his career. Also, both were more athletic and craftier than people thought at first sight. Number 6, Jason Kidd. Jokic is putting the world on notice, and proving that the Balkans live and die for basketball. It's always been like that, even if the rest of the planet hasn't been paying attention. If not, just ask Jason Kidd. It just shows. If the country didn't break up into 7 countries, they could be the dream team. As a fan of the game, it's fun to watch. You cheer for him because you know you're going to see something special. Jokic, Bogdan and Bojan Bogdanovic, Boban Marjanovic, Nemanja Bjelica, Ivica Zubac, Luka Doncic, Nikola Vucevic, Goran Dragic, and Jusuf Nurkic are just some of the players that could form that team if they hadn't broken up. Number 5. Darko Milicic. Jokic has made a strong case for being considered the best big man in the NBA right now. That's not easy to say given how many talented players we have at that position, including perennial Defensive Player of the Year candidate Rudy Gobert. Gobert has drawn plenty of controversial takes about his $200 million contract, with former second overall pick Darko Milicic stating that Jokic should get $500 million if they paid Gobert that much. If Gobert is worth so much money, then our Jokic should sign a contract for $500 million. In the NBA, marketing's always been the first priority, and the league tries to turn itself into show business. Those amounts today are just unreal. Giving someone so much money is crazy, he said. Number 4. Toni Kukoc. European basketball legend Toni Kukoc also had a lot to say about Nikola. Kukoc was one of the biggest stars from the old continent that found success in the league, paving the way for guys like him to come after. Nowadays, players like Doncic, Jokic, Bogdanovic are all well known before going into the NBA, and the trust in them is way bigger than it was back then. As soon as they get to a team, the trust is shown. They get the ball, they get opportunities. It's awesome that some of these guys have the chance to become the league MVP. Jokic is given the chance to be the leader of a team. He doesn't take it as a job. He enjoys competing at the highest level. That's the beauty of the game. All the stuff that nobody sees, it's translated on the court. He has a lot of influence on the court. His vision of seeing what's happening before anybody else does makes him a great basketball player, Kukoc said. Number 3. Paul Pierce. Paul Pierce has never been known for his strong predictions. Before being let go by ESPN, his controversial takes gave his haters plenty of material. Last year, he said that Jokic wasn't going to win the MVP because of his team's seeding, and thus they should try to trade his sidekick Jamal Murray. The only reason Jokic won't get MVP this year is because their team isn't going to be top 4 of the conference. And so if there's a move out there you can make to vault this team back into the top 4, I think you gotta do it. And that may mean sacrificing Jamal Murray, Pierce said. Gladly, the Nuggets held on to Murray, and Jokic proved him wrong by winning the award. Number 2. Kevin Garnett. Even though Jokic is a modern-day player, that doesn't mean that old-school hoopers don't appreciate his game. In fact, Kevin Garnett recently compared him to Dirk Nowitzki and lauded the way he and other players have changed the league. I don't think guys from 20 years ago could play this game. 20 years ago, guys used their hands to control players. Now you can't use your hands. That makes defense damn near impossible. Can you imagine not hand-checking Michael Jordan? Nah. The fact that you can't touch players gives the offensive players so much flexibility. The fadeaways, one-leg runners, the one-leg balance shots, that's stuff that Dirk Nowitzki brought to our game. And now when I watch Joker play, it feels like he's taken that Dirkness and mixed it with his own talent. And Steph Curry revolutionized things with being able to shoot it from distance with such consistency. Klay Thompson, Dame Lillard, these guards changed the game, he said. Number 1. Alex English. The Denver Nuggets have had plenty of legendary players go through their ranks, although none of them has been able to lead the team to an NBA championship. As a matter of fact, they're one of the few teams that have never been to the NBA Finals. But according to the guy who was considered the best player in Nuggets history, that might as well change if Nikola Jokic stays in town. According to Alex English, he could go down as the best player to ever wear that jersey. I would think that he's been there long enough to be verified as one of the greatest players, if not the greatest player. I think that longevity plays a part as well, but so far, he's on track to be the greatest Nuggets player because of the numbers that he puts up, as well as how he's played with the team. So I'm okay with relinquishing the role and letting him take over because he's earning it. He's doing a lot of stuff for that squad that if he wasn't there, they wouldn't be in the position. He's a bona fide superstar, and his numbers prove it. His individual numbers as well as the team numbers, the winning percentages. You have to look at the production of the player. You have to look at his contributions to the team. But you also have to include longevity as well, because I've seen players that have been great for 2 years, 3 years on the squad. And to be able to say they've been the greatest player on the squad when you've got other players that have done not as well, but have been as strong. But I think that his work over the 5 years being a Nugget qualifies him. He's done what he needs to do. And he's in that longevity range where he can say, well, I've been here, I've done this, I've done that. He's made the All-Star team now, I believe, 3 years. And that's the beginning of putting down the marks that people will judge him on. So he's well within range now, English said. That's a lot of praise coming from a guy who averaged nearly 26 points per game over his career with the Nuggets. Will Nikola Jokic win another MVP? Will he stay with the Denver Nuggets and lead them to their very first NBA championship? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to hit like and subscribe for more original content.